Hello and welcome to Authors Talking Shop. I'm your host, Michael Wertenberg. Today I'm talking with Jordan King, author of White Oats, published in October 2022 by Running Wild Press. White Oats is about a U.S. Army veteran who, after an overdose, is admitted to White Oaks Hospital, where he must not only square off against old demons, but also band together with the other patients to stay alive amid a big pharma conspiracy. Hello, Jordan. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me today.
Hey, Michael, how are you?
Fantastic. Thank you. Did I get the synopsis close, right?
Yes, yes, very good.
Thank you. Where are you right now? Where are you calling speaking?
I'm in Ohio in the U.S.
Ohio in the US. And I am
Yep.
in Budapest, Hungary. So this is an international episode.
Yes,
Uh,
hours apart from each other.
yes, we are. Do you have a physical copy of your book? You show me yours, I'll show you mine.
I'll have to grab mine.
Would you mind?
Yeah, I'll be right back. There we go.
Oh, that's beautiful. Let's see your name. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. I'm going to show you mine as well. This is Delirium's Muse, also
Nice.
available with Running Wild Press. It's also available in French if you read French. I believe guys. I want to start by asking you about the process, writing
Uh-huh.
process, and about writer's block. My
Yes.
first question for you, Jordan, is writer's block a real thing?
Well, definitely, I think so. I think it's definitely a real thing. I think that there are a variety of things that can factor into it. A lot of people like to say that it's more of a laziness issue. But I don't necessarily view it as a laziness issue because when I'm thinking about writer's block, I'm thinking about myself sitting in front of the computer screen, trying, or sitting somewhere where I can actively be thinking about the plot or character or whatever stuff I'm trying to figure out. So I'm actively trying to do it, and so it's not really laziness. It's just that I'm failing to accomplish my goal.
Fair enough. Now, I have been on the record as stating that writer's block doesn't exist. It's just an excuse for laziness or procrastination. But I'm also willing to accept that I don't know everything. So you do encounter writer's block. Okay, so my next question then is perfectionism the root cause of writer's block, or is it laziness?
Not for me.
Not for
Not for me because I have no illusions that anything that I'm going to create is ever going to be perfect. So I don't set out for that because I know that I won't accomplish that really. But I have stories that I believe in and that I think are fun to write, and but perfectionism is not really my thing.
okay, good.
And it might contribute to writer's block for sure if people are trying to do that, if they're trying to accomplish something perfect, then absolutely that could really stymie your progress.
Right. I've met many writers who say, oh, they don't like what they write, so they end up not writing.
Hmm.
So that's a perfectionism is a it's a
Right.
plague.
Well, and the only time that I've really, really struggled with writer's block was when I had other stuff going on in my life that was chaotic.
Okay.
So when I kind of lost that piece in my life, I lost the ability to create, or it became much more difficult. And then when the piece started to return to my life, I just found my mind wandering back into that creative space a lot more frequently.
So writer's block for you has a lot to do with where your head is at.
Definitely.
Okay. Now, are you do you outline before you jump into a draft, or are you a pantser?
So I outline. When I first started writing, I was a pantser. And I really feel like that's a more exciting way to write. But I have found during the editing process that it was really just a nightmare, and became more of a problem than it was a fun, exciting thing. So I really started outlining, and I do that for pretty much everything.
So you
Um,
outlined White Oats before you jumped into the first draft.
So White Oaks actually started as a short story. And if you read the book, chapter 4 is a version of that original short story.
Okay.
And it was something that I just couldn't stop thinking about. And so I started fleshing it out, and it started getting messy. And then that is really when I started outlining.
I see.
When I was having a hard time figuring out where to go with white oaks, and when it was getting messy. And so I just sat down and thought, okay, where do I want this? Where do I want it to go? How do I get there? Let's build the structure of this first. And I really feel like the outlining is probably the harder part, which might be why people don't do it very often. Um, but for me, it was like when I started outlining, my creativity just kind of skyrocketed. And unlike the excitement of writing as a pantser, what I found exciting about outlining was when the outline was done and I'm writing, and then things just start falling into place like they're supposed to, like you had planned it. And that's almost as exciting. And
Yeah.
there's almost nothing to clean up after the fact. So it
And
was just
how
more efficient.
and how big of an outline are we talking about? What do you like to work with?
Um, it depends, but usually I'll kind of just go chapter by chapter. Here's what's happening here, here's what's happening there, just kind of give a general idea of what is happening in the chapter. And then, executing the plan is fleshing that
And the end result would be 2 or 3 pages of an outline.
out. When I did the outline for White Oaks, I probably had a few chapters done. I mean, it was about 30 pages, I would say.
The outline was 30 pages.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's
because
quite
it
detailed.
ends up, I want to say the book has 30, 32 chapters, something like that. So that it was about a page per chapter
Okay.
of
All
the
right. That makes
outline.
sense. Okay. That makes sense. I had written many, many manuscripts, many books as a pantser. And then I
Hmm.
started working as a ghostwriter for erotica
Hmm.
series, romance series. And the clients would give me like a 2 or 3 page outline, and I would spit out a 50,000 word novel in like 2 weeks.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and I was amazed that over a few months at how productive I was. And it was because of the outline. It was super easy. And also because
Right.
the books weren't really that good. But since that experience working as a ghostwriter, I've been looking more favorably at outlines than I
Right.
had in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really militantly against outlining.
Me too. Yeah.
Before I went to school, I went to get my MFA in creative writing at Miami of Ohio. And that's really where I got a lot of my structure, and where I learned that I was super wrong about about being a militant pantser, that it was really slowing me down.
Okay. So from your experience at University of Miami, is that the name of
Miami of Ohio. Yeah,
Miami of Ohio, which I should know. My sister graduated from there as well.
yeah, yeah,
We
yeah,
have that connection. So is your experience there that got you believing in outlines?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Specifically, my mentor, Jacqueline Machard, she was all about outlining, and from what she's told me, when she writes, she does not write a single word until she's figured out everything. So, which I'm not like that.
Hmm.
I'm not that militant with my outlining. But yeah, she was a huge influence in that.
Okay, fair enough. I'm still on. I have a foot in both sides of the camp here, as we say. All right.
Yeah.
So when you start off to write a novel, are you writing what the book that you would like to read, or are you thinking about the readers already and about what they
Um,
want?
I mean, 100% what I want to read. What I'm interested in, what I want to write, what I want to read. Of course, I'm interested in what readers want, but my primary focus is on novels, and those take a whole lot of time. And it's not just about writing, it's plotting, outlining, planning, thinking, then writing, then editing, then querying and writing the synopsis and trying to find an agent, finding a publisher. And, if things go well and it's published and things go to plan, I'll be reading from it publicly for years. So I'm not going to put myself through that for somebody else. I'm going to put myself through that when I really, really love this story. And I can't stop thinking about it. And the only way to get it out of my head is to write it. So yeah, I would never, or at least have not yet, written for a trend, or something for somebody else. I've written things and am currently writing something that is inspired by somebody else, some aspect of our relationship or whatever. But yeah, I wouldn't be writing like whatever Harry Potter sequels or
Or for example, I think you're in the same boat as me. We are querying agents constantly or
yeah,
frequently,
yeah.
and often I will, before I attack a first draft, I will think about the query letter. How am I going to reduce this to an elevator pitch that an agent would be interested in? Is that part of your thought process before you start creating?
It's not, but it will be from now on because that's a great idea.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if it's a great idea, but it is one that I'm suffering too. I have so many manuscripts that agents couldn't possibly, that aren't interested in, unfortunately.
Right. Well, and it's a lot, the querying and synopsis writing, all of that process it's a lot more involved than people realize. Like when I got White Oaks published, it took me about 2 years, and I sent it to 184 publishers and agents over a 2 year span.
Hmm.
And 185 is who said yes. Um, so
Okay.
it's a lot. It's a lot of time.
Were you able to get any agent to look at
Yes,
it? Oh,
I was
that's quite an
able to.
accomplishment.
Well, so the first agent to look at it, I view it more as luck, because it was on Twitter. An agent had posted this thing on Twitter saying that she would do a free query letter review for the first two people who commented. And I happened to see that post like 37 seconds after she posted it.
Okay.
So I commented on it, and I was the first person, and she looked at my query letter and she said it was really great. Really loved it and was interested, in seeing the manuscript. And so I sent it to her, and she wasn't interested. But there was one other agent, I think, that wanted a sample, and she also passed.
So out of
So,
about a
but for the
hundred,
most part, it's form rejections,
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah,
very polite no's.
right. I think I've sent out over 800 queries, and I think I've had four agents look at my manuscript.
Wow.
That's my success rate. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a lot.
it is a lot.
I thought I did a lot, but wow.
I mean, this is over 6, 7 years probably. Yeah. Ugh,
Dang.
oh, that makes me sad thinking about it. Yeah, every time I have a new manuscript, I'll go through that process, send it out to agents. About 100 agents later, I say, okay, fine, I'll send it to independent publishers.
Uh,
Then I end up not signing with them when I do get contract offers, with few exceptions. So
right.
well, it's tough.
I had a guy at work ask me yesterday. He said, "When is your next book coming out?" I was like, "I have no idea. Years, like
Yeah.
years from now, literally." And everybody that I tell that to is surprised, and it's like that's just the way it is.
Because from the creation of White Oats to its publication, that's about 3 years went by.
About yeah,
Yeah, I think for Delirium's Muse, it was quite a bit longer. I want to say 6 years, just because
wow,
I'd spent so much time with agents, trying to get agents interested in it. And I
mm-hmm,
also turned down the first two contract offers I received from independent publishers.
mm-hmm.
Quite picky. Yeah,
That's
six
okay.
years. 6 years, that's a long time. And I have another one coming out. I have a horror book with Manta Press coming out, The Quick and the Still, and that's also 6 years. I wrote it 6 years
Wow,
ago. Maybe
wow,
seven,
yeah,
yeah,
that's a
maybe
lot.
7 years now, probably. Yep. It does take a long, long time.
It sure does.
Do you edit while you write?
I do. I
Scandalous.
do. And that's actually, we were talking about writer's block, and that's actually one of the things that I will use to help with writer's block. If I
Okay.
can't figure out where I want to go next, I just remind myself of where I've been, fix a few grammatical errors along the way, throw in a comma here and there, and that's usually enough to kind of get me going.
So if you experience writer's block, going back and editing will help you get into the flow once again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it'll just get my mind back into that place. So, but yeah, so I do edit while I write, and part of it is to help with writer's block, and part of it is to just continually keep myself active and yeah.
Now, you do make a good case for editing while you write. I do tell every aspiring author I talk to not do that because I feel like that will foster the perfectionism inside of them. I figure
Right.
when you start off a first draft, your only goal should be to finish the first draft. Don't matter if it's good or bad. Just get it.
Right, for sure. So I will say I don't stop myself to edit. If I'm creating and things are flowing out, then I'm not stopping to edit. I edit when I'm done creating stuff, when I don't have anything else going on at the moment, then I'll go back. Or, like I said, if I'm having some writer's block, I'll go back.
Right.
But I never stop myself because I do think that you can get into that where you're trying to make every aspect of it perfect before you move on, when it might be a lot more perfect if you were to just move forward,
Right. Right.
just let it out, so.
But you've read enough where that you're not as susceptible to that trap as maybe
Right.
younger,
Yeah. Yeah,
less
I think when I
experienced
when I
writers.
first started writing, and like I told you before, I was much more of a pantser when I first started
Mhm.
writing, and I almost never edited. And like I would write and write, and then I would edit it when it was done, like done.
That's the way I do. If characters change names, I don't go back to correct it. Just I always want to get that first draft.
Yeah,
First.
yeah, stuff like that. I wouldn't go back for that either. That's something I would go back and clean up later.
Fair enough. And fill in fill in this blank. Fill in the blank.
Mhm.
Fill in the blank. Readers who like blank will also probably like white books.
Um, so Craig Clevenger is a big influence.
Yes, we've talked about him before. Why
Yes.
why is Craig Clevenger not more famous than he is?
I don't know.
He's
I
brilliant.
honestly I ask myself that pretty regularly. And he is actually the number one thing that I use to cure writer's block. A lot of things that I will do, I'll just read something that I love, and that's enough. But 99% of the time, it's the opening sequence in Dermaphoria.
Yes, yeah.
It is so good. Um, like that opening paragraph is like that book is what made me want to become a writer.
Okay.
And I was actually sitting in my government cubicle reading that book when I decided like this is what I want to do. Um,
Interesting.
yeah. So Craig Clevenger stuff, you'll definitely see an influence in there. Chuck Palahniuk, um, fans of his would probably like it. I've heard some comparisons to, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, although that book is amazing. And the show Homeland with Julia Roberts, about veterans.
Okay.
Coming home after the war, and there's some
Okay.
testing stuff going on with them. Um, so yeah, and I mean Stephen King stuff. Um, I think there's something in there for pretty much anyone who has a strong stomach anyway.
Okay. Good. It's funny that you mentioned Dermaphoria and Craig Clevenger that he inspired you to write because when I read that, I said to myself, "What am I?" It's like there's no, I'm not going to write this great of a book, so I might as well just stop.
Yeah.
So I almost had the opposite reaction. But yeah, we like him a lot. He's maybe his new book, Mother How, will become a hit and more people will know him.
Yeah, I hope so. I
I hope
hope
so as
so
well.
because his stuff is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And I will answer that question as well for
Yes, Delirium's
Williams
Muse.
News. I would say if you like Shirley Jackson,
Hmm.
maybe because it's
Yeah.
kind of psychological horror-ish, but it's not gore. Well, there is a little bit of gore. There's a little bit of Clive Barker in here as well. He's a huge
Hmm.
influence on me. So I'd say Clive Barker, Shirley Jackson.
Excellent.
Kind of.
That's a good fan base right there.
Yes, yeah. My Shirley Jackson video is the only one that's doing well.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And what are you currently working on? What are your goals slash plans for 2023?
So right now I have another novel that's done that's called Drone. It's a post-apocalyptic satirical science fiction about a sentient drone roaming around 2050s Ohio.
Okay.
So that is done. It's been done for about a year, and I've been querying for about a year. And I've been doing that even yesterday. I did some more querying. So my goal is to find a home for that this year.
Okay.
But I'm also working on another novel that is about, excuse me, it's about a man who has the ability to take illnesses from people,
Okay.
but he doesn't really know who he is or why he is or how he can do the things that he does. Um, so I'm working on that. I only have a chapter of that done, and then about 20 pages of outlining. So I think I have about 20 more pages of outlining to go, and then I'll be ready to rock and roll on that.
How long
So
how long does it take you generally to do an outline? Like a 30, 40 page outline?
it really depends. If I don't have a whole lot going on, and I can really focus on it, a couple weeks. If I have a lot going on and I'm doing it in, bits and pieces here and there, it could take a couple months. I recently bought an older home that needed a lot of work. So I've been focusing a little bit more of my time on stuff like that. So it takes a little bit longer when I have other stuff going on. So a couple months probably.
Couple months. That's just for the outline.
Hmm.
And then for the first draft, do you have set targets? How long does it take you generally?
Um, so I wrote when I first started, I wrote the first 100 pages of White Oaks in about a year. Um, and then I wrote the last 200 pages in about 6 weeks. Um,
Okay.
So it really depends on what I'm doing, how dedicated I am to it, how busy I am in other aspects of my life. I'm trying to get a little bit more time for my writing, so I'm really hoping that the new book will be done. It's April 2023, yeah. So hopefully by the end of this year, I'll have that book done. I'll have a home for Drone, and I'll have the third book done, and I can start editing and shopping that around.
Okay. And 100 pages in a year for White Oats, was that just because you had other things going on in your life? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I had other things going on, and I just wasn't entirely familiar with the process yet either. I
Okay.
was still learning a lot. So, but yeah, that last part, I was just super dedicated to it. And I would have days that I'd sit there and just type 30, 40, 50 pages um, at one sitting. Um,
Nice. Wow.
one very long sitting,
Right.
you know. So it really just depends. And if there's not a lot of stuff going on in my life, we talked earlier about peace. If I have a lot of peace in my life, then I'm super productive. Um, if I don't have a lot of stuff going on, then I'm usually much more productive.
Do you have some advice for aspiring writers?
Um, yeah, yeah. Be patient. Be persistent. And walk into things knowing that the vast majority of people you show it to are going to say no, thank you, or say nothing at all. You really have to believe in yourself and stay focused and dedicated to finding a home for it.
It definitely takes patience. People are
Yes.
shocked to realize, oh, your new book's out. Like, yeah, I wrote it 8 years ago. It's not that new to me. Right.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I have some writer friends who get really down with the rejection, get hurt by it and end up not querying or not writing and it's just that will happen to you.
Right.
It will. You will get rejected a bunch. And just keep in mind, like Stephen King, I think Carrie was rejected like 300 times, and Harry Potter had tons of rejections. Lord of the Rings had tons of rejections, so even the great books get passed up on. So you just have to walk into it knowing that there's going to be rejection and being okay with that.
Have you considered self-publishing? Is that
Not seriously. I mean, I've considered it, but honestly, no. I mean, the dream has always been to have somebody else say, "Hell yeah, I want this. I want to put this out into the world."
that makes sense? I don't
So,
buy a lot of I rarely buy a self-published book, so it just doesn't seem genuine for me to ask other people to buy self-published.
right. Yeah.
That being said, I do have a collection self-published,
Yes.
but these are short stories that were published in other anthologies. I just compiled them together.
Nice.
The Orthography of Madness and Misgivings. So
I
it's
like the cover too.
thank you. I designed it myself, and if you open it,
Nice.
it's one big Rorschach.
Yeah, yeah.
And let's say it's 3 years of my writing career and 6 different countries. So
Wow.
all the stories are compiled in sections according to the country they were in. I was in, wrote them, preface with a short biographical.
Do you do that a lot? Do you write with the places that you're in?
I don't, but these stories are. I mean, they were all written in a country, and that's each section is for a country they were in when I wrote them. But they're not necessarily the stories don't take place in that country. Not always.
Right. Yeah.
I think I was living in Lisbon, and I wrote a story that takes place in Paris. I was living in
Hmm.
Paris, wrote a story that takes place in Lisbon. It's all over the place. And I also have a tongue-in-cheek collection, very short, stories to tell your children, assuming you are a very bad parent. It's modern horror fables, like
Excellent.
for Morticia Adams. Anyway, but these are stories that were published elsewhere. Just
Hmm. So one of the other things, actually, you talked about was, or you asked me about in an email was about uh, what kind of changes that I make to my stories based on feedback.
oh yes, good point. Oh yeah, let's.
Um,
Can I preface that by saying, so when you finish, do you seek out beta readers? Do you seek out feedback before you submit?
Not yet. I haven't yet, and mostly because a lot of my stuff was done in school, and so I had built-in beta readers.
Okay.
So when I did the MFA program, most of the classwork is workshopping each other's short stories and chapters. So there are a lot of opportunities to get feedback from other people. And when I first started workshopping, it was difficult, and I got a little bit defensive at first, trying to protect my ideas or whatever.
Mm.
But as soon as I realized that they were just people like me, they were just trying to become a better writer, and they were making recommendations because they gave a shit, not because they were trying to put me down. So once I let go of the personal stuff, and just let that feedback come in, um, that's when my productivity actually skyrocketed. And I was willing to change some things. Sometimes when you get feedback, it's easy to disregard it because they don't know that it will damage something 10 chapters down the road. So I try to stay localized with the suggestions that I listen to. And sometimes people just bestow these wonderful gifts upon you in workshop, even if it's just one line of dialogue or one sentence. It's like, you were right and I was wrong. Thank you. Um, so so I always loved workshops because even when I trashed 100% of the comments and the suggestions and the recommendations, even if I didn't listen to anybody, it still got me in the mindset of thinking about my story from different perspectives. So it was always productive. Like I never got nothing out of a workshop. Even the bad ones were productive in some way.
That makes sense. And what is it? Is there anything in White Oats that you changed based on some of the feedback you received?
Yeah, yeah. It would take me a while, a while to remember. but probably a number of things. And like I think that even like the doctors and the hospital staff, they were a little bit more menacing earlier on in the story. And I had somebody tell me, like, you're giving away a little bit too much, you should push this back some. And I mean, really, I could just go on and on. If I sat down and looked through the book, I could probably find countless things that I changed because of somebody else's suggestion, even if it was something very simple. So, and that's why there's like 70 people in my acknowledgments, because they were all super helpful. So I don't know that it would have been published, and I don't think it would have been what it is without listening to the feedback from other people.
I want to thank you, Jordan King, for talking with me today about your writing career, your writing process. Your book, White Oats, is available from Running Wild Press. I will leave a link in the comment section. Thank you for watching my interview with Jordan King. Hit that like button and subscribe for more videos about writing, book reviews, and authors. If you do want to check out Jordan's work or my work, please remember to leave a review on Goodreads or Amazon, for example. Authors depend greatly on reviews, so that gesture is much appreciated. I will be interviewing more authors in the coming weeks, so let me know in the comments what questions or topics you would like for me to address. Until then, see you in the next video.